What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Watchtower podcast, episode 70. I I cannot believe uh, that we've done 70 of these. But yeah, we're here. We're doing this Tuesday. We're still here. We're still here. We're still waiting for our Lord to return. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. And what do? We watch the signs of His return. We want to be prepared. So glad you guys could join me, though. Glad you guys are here. Hopefully, you guys are doing all right. Yeah. First things first. If you guys hear noise, I apologize. I don't know. For some reason, all my neighbors decide to be really loud on Tuesday nights. So I apologize for that if you guys hear anything going on in the background. But other than that, yeah, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. But looks like we've got the chat here. Kim has made it. Glad to see you here. Looks like you've got a storm going on, so hopefully you stick around here. Now this world is here. Good to see you. Jazz in the house. Glad to see you. Hopefully you're doing okay on this Tuesday. So glad that you guys could be here. Yeah, we've got a packed episode. I know I say that every week. Um, it's crazy because I'll get done on Tuesday, and then the next day I'm thinking to myself, "Oh man, hopefully stuff happens between now and next Tuesday, so I'll have things to talk about." And then, sure enough, we get to Tuesday, and there's plenty of things to talk about. So that's usually how it goes. But yeah, first things first, though, start it off. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe the podcast, get it out there, trying to reach as many people as I can, obviously. Also, make sure because, censorship is probably going to start coming down even harder than normal. Make sure you follow me on Rumble, Odyssey, and Telegram. So if anything happens to the YouTube channel, I will be doing it over there because all three of those platforms, as of now at least, allow free speech and free thinking and all that stuff. Allows you to question the narrative. So if anything happens here, make sure you're following me over there. Especially Rumble, I got to make sure I get 100 subscribers in order to stream on there. Other than that, I think we're okay. And then also, little announcement. Tomorrow at noon, we've got another episode of the Bobblehead Adventures. So if you enjoy those little comedic things with some of your favorite prophecy pastors and teachers and whatnot, if you enjoy those little clips, tomorrow there's going to be a new episode coming out. I think it's going to be good. Yeah. Hey, we've got a new name in here, Holly. Good to see you, Holly. Glad you are here. Hopefully you're having a good Tuesday. So glad you could join us. It's always cool to see new names, new faces in the chat. So cool. Good to see you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this. We're going to take a trip across the pond over to the UK, what's going on in Europe, because the focus right now is definitely what's going on in Europe with their energy problems, the new just takeover of what's going on government-wise and all that stuff. So first things first, though, there have been some leaked documents that have come out. English, not good. But there's been leaked documents that have come out about the UK government wargaming an emergency plan for at least week-long blackouts. If you're paying attention with anything that's going on in Europe, they are in a extreme energy crisis that's just destroying pretty much the entire place over there. And so the government is getting ready to, or wargaming emergency plans for blackouts. Now, we have talked about how they've done studies and simulations on what would happen. And we know in some districts over there, within the first, was it 48 or 72 hours, something like that, a lot of people will die. A lot of things will go offline. Everything is going to start shutting down. Well, it looks like they are getting prepared for this. Now, This, but basically what they were wargaming, what they're simulating, what they were trying to quote unquote prepare for, because they know it's coming. They're the ones that are planning all of it. Um, but there's it's going to affect transport, food, water, communications, and of course the energy. Everything is going to halt, and so they're preparing for how the government will provide these things. This is when you start looking into like, what we've got with FEMA over here. They're going to start preparing to do all that stuff over there. It never ends well for the citizens. We've got to be careful on YouTube, but we know they don't want so many people. There's no other way to say it without getting in trouble, but they don't want so many people, so it doesn't surprise us that this is going to happen. The Whitehall officials, the ones involved with this, held a number of exercises titled Program Yarrow, Yarrow, Program Yarrow. They're basically preparing for a colder than normal winter. They're preparing for the blackouts to happen because of the energy issues, all of that stuff. And of course, in the document, they are blaming Putin for these energy problems because it's Putin's oil and it's Putin's energy problems, and it's all because of him. It has nothing to do with the fact of them placing sanctions on Russia that have done nothing but kill their own economy, kill their own energy supply, all of that stuff. But as we know, this is controlled. That's what they want to do. These sanctions were not to take down Russia. These sanctions were to take down Europe. That's just how it's rolling. So they're doing all this. They're blaming Putin for it. And in the document, in the leaked documents, you'll even find that they have even prepared scripts for BBC News to read in the event of these blackouts when they occur. They mentioned rolling blackouts, but I'm sure it'll be for regular blackouts too. These scripts are prepared for not only just the regular news, so when they have planned rolling blackouts, they'll be reading these scripts that the government has provided for them, but they've also got them for FM radio, so when just regular blackouts happen, the unplanned kind, anybody who has an FM radio will be able to read these carefully crafted scripts for BBC News to give you. This kind of goes back to like, the Mockingbird, Project Mockingbird, all of that stuff, where it's the government is feeding the mainstream news, getting the correct, the right things out there that they want people to understand. So this is falling exactly in line with what they want to do with that. Of course, these documents not supposed to be public knowledge, or are they? I don't know. Usually when we see things like this, there's a reason why they're coming out. But basically, they're talking about how because of Putin, the supply issues, the cost of living, everything like that, they don't want it to be public knowledge because people will start panicking and doing all that. Well, what's the saying is if you have a scared cow, it produces bad milk. So you kind of look at it like if the populace becomes scared, they start producing bad milk. So whether they wanted it to get out now or later, we don't know. The thing right now, and you'll find this being pushed in the mainstream media, is if the mainstream media is even talking about this, but what I have seen is they're talking about how, it's not going to be that bad of a winter. They've got like 90% of their oil supply filled, their capacity. And October was actually warmer than average. Well, if you peel back the layers of the mainstream media and you look further into it, you will see that yes, October was a bit normal or a bit warmer than normal, but this winter is supposed to be much colder than average. So it's going to get bad over there. It's already terrible, but it's going to get a lot worse over there. So that's for sure. Let's see here. Let's see, what do you guys got going on? Holly, hello, glad to be here. I never catch the lives. I'm always watching the show later. It's great to be here. Cool. Glad you are here. Glad to see you. And we've got Sally. How's it going, Sally? Glad to see you here. And Lisa's here, stuck at work, but you made it. So glad to see you guys. Hopefully you guys are having a good Tuesday. So, okay. So that's kind of what's going on with that. There's a bunch more to the documents, a bunch of boring stuff. I mean, we don't really need to know about it. But what is going on, though, is they are planning, they are wargaming, simulating, however you want to put it, for the blackouts that are coming. And I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but according to the simulations that they have run, when those blackouts hit, I'm really having a hard time talking. I apologize. But when those blackouts hit, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. So now, something else that the UK has coming on. The UK has confirmed there will be no insurance on ships carrying Russian oil. So this is something that they were talking about months and months and months ago. They were planning on doing. Never passed, never did, or they never put it through like it was supposed to. But because of the recent price cap things that they've been doing, this is a part of the price cap thing. So this is supposed to start December 5th. I believe December 5th begins the crude oil. If they will not insure Russian crude oil, and then February 5th, 2023, their insurance will no longer cover Russian refined oil. But how this is going to work is basically any tanker that that with a EU flag, European Union flag, or man, my handwriting, I swear I should have been a doctor because I can't write. But any tanker with an EU flag that is carrying EU or UK insurance can no longer carry Russian oil unless it is sold under the G7 price cap. So if Russia is selling it to somebody in the country for the price set by the G7, if Russia is selling to them under the G7, then the UK government, the EU government will insure that tanker. But if it's over the price of the G7 cap, then they will no longer insure it. The US is also set to join this as well. And so when the UK or the EU and the US have both of this going, that is 90% of the world's tanker insurers will be shunning Russian oil. So 90%. You want to talk about shooting yourself in the foot? This is how you do it. This is how you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot. So the U.S. is also going to join that as well. I don't have a date on when the U.S. is supposed to get involved. But we've got Jeremy Hunt, who is the U.K. finance minister. He's the WEF boy that was hand-selected by Liz Truss when she was in office for those 45 days. He made this announcement, and of course, he was waving his Ukraine flag and said that this is all about supporting Ukraine. It's all about supporting Ukraine. So this is, again, more of the using that situation to basically push further into the WEF agenda, the Antichrist beast system agenda that's coming, the climate agenda, all of that stuff. So this is definitely being used for that. I've actually got something I'll talk about a little later, which just proves that this whole Ukraine-Russia thing is totally by design and totally a deal that was made. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But they claim, the UK claims that this will reduce oil money funding the invasion and will cause China, India, and Turkey to buy at lower prices. Yeah, if you're paying attention, China, India, and Turkey are already buying Russian oil at the cheapest prices ever due to the deals that they've got going on. So that's already happening. So I don't know what they're trying to do. I think this is just for people who really aren't paying attention, who are understanding what's going on. They're expecting this to actually have an effect in some way or another. It's not. It's not, of course. And then also sticking with UK and energy, we've got Sunak and Hunt, Rishi Sunak and Hunt, both WEF boys. We talked about that already. They're doing a windfall tax on energy companies. So now they're going to be introducing a windfall tax on energy companies. They've already got a tax on these companies for 25%, but they want to up it to 30%. They want an extension for this tax to go until 2028, and they want it to cover electric generators as well. This is supposed to produce an extra 40 billion, billion with a B, pounds in taxes. Now, something that I've talked about whenever these windfall taxes come through, the companies will not take the hit. These windfall taxes that they're putting on all of these companies like this, which Biden wants to do the same thing here, those taxes go to the consumers. Those taxes go to the people. The company is not going to just pay out of pocket. They're not going to take the hit with those taxes. They're going to pass that on to consumers. So whenever you see something like this, whenever you see government trying to tax a company, all that means is the government is taxing you. That's all that means. And this is part of the plan to basically put everybody in poverty. They want everybody poor. They want everybody where they can't afford anything. They want government independence, and they want less people. That's the only way I can put it on YouTube. They want that. And so this is how they're doing it. They're just taking as much money from the people as possible. It's just, they're thieving it, taking it from the pockets. And then also, Hunt, of course, Wef Boy wants to do the agenda here. Hunt is also implementing a road tax on electric cars. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. So because they want everybody to switch to electric cars, they're no longer going to get the taxes for the gasoline. So how are they going to do it? They're going to implement a road tax on electric cars, which you're probably thinking to yourself, I already pay a road tax when I register my car. That's part of the payment. It's supposed to go towards the roads. Well, now they want to tax you again for the same thing. Again, this is about taking away the money. This is about creating poverty, getting rid of the middle class, get everybody super poor, and they want to take your money. The U.S. also wants to do the same thing. Both the U.S. and the U.K. announced something that they wanted to do on this. The U.K. just happened to beat them to it. The U.S. is also wanting to do the same thing with the gas tax, which are the electric car tax. Basically, what they want to do with this is not only are you going to be paying a tax for this, but they're also going to be strapping GPSs to everybody's cars. And if you have an electric car, you have one of those smart cars, they've already got you on GPS and everything. They're going to be able to track every single move you make. They're going to be able to track everywhere you go. And you know that this will play into your social credit score and all of that. You know that's what it's going to be a part of, because it's a part of, it's my favorite thing to talk about, everybody, the Internet of Things. That's right. It's all going to be playing a part of that. It's in everything. It's in everything. Also sticking with energy, we've got French nuclear reactors are failing at a catastrophic pace right now. They're becoming extremely dangerous. They're basically aging. These are really, really old. They're aging, and they're unkept right now. They're unkept because all of the nuclear workers, they're on strike. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, or I put it on my Telegram. I can't remember. There's so much going on. I know I mentioned it somewhere. But we know that the French nuclear workers, they're on strike. And so because these workers are on strike, there's nobody to do the maintenance that needs to be done on them. The government said that they're going to be bringing in their own agents, their own people to come in and repair and maintain and fix these things. Well, they're not trained to do it. And the last thing that you want is an untrained maintenance worker doing something to a nuclear reactor. Something bad is going to happen there. So because of this, nuclear plants in France are going offline because otherwise they're going to be dangerous to run without the maintenance. And that means the more that those go offline, the higher that the energy prices go. And so that's what's going on with that. Now, moving over from France to Austria, we've got the Austrian government is working to ban oil and coal heaters next year. As soon as next year, they want to get these things banned, all the fossil fuel stuff banned. So they want to replace the old oil and coal heaters by 2025. So they're going to ban them next year for public places, for public buildings, but they want to replace all of them by 2025 in the public places. And of course, they want to pass this through. They want to get this going by using the climate agenda and Putin's oil as the driving force for it. That's just Climate and Putin, they go together like salt and pepper, I guess, when it comes to this stuff. Now, this bill that they want to do with this to ban the fossil fuel heaters requires two-thirds of Parliament approval because the bill will be an amendment to the Constitution. So this isn't even going to be just a regular bill, like a law type of thing. They actually want to make this an amendment in the Austrian constitution. It is called the Renewable Heat Act. And basically, again, no more fossil fuel heaters in public buildings. And then they want to replace them by 2025, which we already said, but then they want all heaters, public and private, to be basically electric, climate friendly by 2040. So good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. So, but yeah, so that's kind of what's going on as far as energy stuff in Europe and whatnot. It's not getting any better. It's not getting any better, folks. It's getting worse over there. And of course, they're just shooting themselves in the foot now. But we know that that's what they want to do. We know this is a controlled demolition. That's what they want to do. Now, as far as diesel goes, because we are on diesel watch now, as far as shortages and all of that, the UK diesel shortage is actually a lot worse than what is happening in the United States. We know the southeast and the northeast, basically that entire area over there, is having shortages, having issues with that. Prices are skyrocketing. I'm seeing some pictures of gas stations in the Northeast where diesel is almost $7 a gallon. You have to remember, our economy runs on that. When the trucks have to pay those prices for diesel, that gets passed on to us. Remember, they're not going to take the hit. It's going to get passed on to us. So we've got that going on. Of course, the mainstream media in the UK is being completely silent on it. They don't want panic. Again, the scared cow produces bad milk. They don't want that going on. Then we've got U.S. Diesel inventories are basically back. They're down to 2007 levels right now. U.S. refiners are they're permanently shutting down, which affects the capacity for this stuff. We know Biden came out just recently and said he wants to stop drilling. Drilling needs to stop. We already know about all that stuff. But what they're doing is they're making it impossible for these refineries to produce at the level that they need to produce. They're making it impossible. And I've already posted a picture on there, but there are other pictures and videos coming out from truck drivers. Stations, mainly on the East Coast over there, are sitting empty on diesel. There's nothing in there. And so the question, I guess, as far as this goes, is we're seeing the decline now, but are they waiting for after these elections to drop the hammer on diesel? Because like I said, if you pull the plug on diesel in the United States, it goes belly up. There goes our economy. So we just have to watch and see what they're going to do with that. Either way, both Europe and the U.S. it's not looking good as far as that goes. And now, because of, the elections and everything going on right now, things might start picking up steam. Because we've been waiting for that here in the United States. We're seeing the decimation of economy and energy and stuff, Europe, China, other ones out there. But we're just kind of sitting here in limbo in the United States, like, all right, what's going to happen? We know something's going to happen. What's going to happen? When is it going to happen? And so it could be waiting until after these elections to start to pull the plug. So we don't know. We just got to wait and see what's going to happen. But we do know problems are coming. Okay, so moving on from energy stuff. We'll take a turn at Albuquerque here, as Bugs Bunny would say. And we're going to take a look at some of this stuff going on as far as the Better Points system. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, we talked about Better Points Sunderland. They did a test run for basically rewards for what they call sustainable travel, where they would reward you for, like taking public transportation or walking or biking or any of that stuff. Well, I found out that it's not just Sunderland that was doing this. The Warwick district is also running the same program. This one's been running for a long time now, and it's actually been, it's still going, and they just extended it. So the Sunderland one was just for a period of time, but this Warwick district has been going for a while. So again, if you don't know what the Better Point system is, they basically track. You download this app and you log in whenever you're going to travel in the area, and it tracks your sustainable travel and awards points for your climate-friendly options. So you get like a point for every minute that you walk, up to 60 points a day. You can get like 10 points for taking the bus. You can do that 4 times, make 40 points. And you take those points and you're able to get discounts at shops, or you can get free like coffee or whatever. It's like, when you're trying to train a dog and you give them treats whenever they do something that you want them to do. That's what they're doing to these people. They're training them for their social credit system. They're trading you for the social credit score, where they want you to do the things that they want you to do, and they're going to reward you for them now. But once you get used to it, once you get conditioned to it, they're killing you with convenience type of thing. They're going to do the bait and switch, and then they're going to say, okay, now you're forced to do it, and we're not going to reward you for it. What we're going to do is, if you don't do what we programmed you to do, then we're just going to take your money away. We're going to shut it off. It's all part of that thing, basically like what's going on in China. And so with this Warwick district, the Better Point system, it's been going on since January of 2021, and they extended it to August of 2023. So it's still going now. This is unlike Sunderland, which only happened for 6 months. They're continuing to do this. They say they've got over 1,200 people who frequently use it. I don't know the population of the Warwick district, so I probably should have looked that up. That I just thought of that now. I apologize. So I don't know if 1,200 is a lot or not for the area that's in. I apologize. But they said they have about 1,200 who frequently use it. Better Points is also considered, and they claim themselves to be the behavior change app. This is about changing people's behavior. This is about social engineering. And that's what it's about. Like I said, they want to condition people. They're going to start rewarding people now until you're forced to do it in that way. So this is about changing people's behaviors. Now, we talked about how this will be connected to the social credit system, and we know that that's going to be connected to, central bank digital currencies, digital ID, all of that stuff, one world economy, everything like that. But it's going to also play a part with the UBI system. The UBI system, if you don't know, is the Universal Basic Income System, and we know that this is going to be a factor in the Antichrist one world economy that's coming. We know that this is going to be a part of it. And because of your social credit score and how this is going to work, it's going to determine how much you get based on that. So if you're doing things that are good for your carbon footprint, that are good for the climate, if you're playing along with what they want you to do in their agenda, they won't dock you your UBI payment. But what they're going to do is, if you don't play along with their game, they can start, they're probably going to start small and start reducing your UBI. And then there's going to be the big one where they just shut your money off completely. That's kind of what we're seeing in China right now. I know everybody has, the idea of how China's systems work, but I'm diving much deeper into it because I want to know more about the workings of it. So in a future episode, if we're still here, Lord willing, please God, get us out of here. Please get us out. But in a future episode, I'll probably dig a little deeper into what's going on with China and their situation, just to see, how it could be affecting these things that they're running in the U.S., Europe, Australia, and all that stuff. But we know that's going to be playing a part with UBI system, Universal Basic Income. Now we've got Rishi Sunak here, is looking into a UBI system for all of Britain. He's looking into the system for all of Britain. Along with that, there's been over 300 MPs, councillors, academics, and mayors who have signed an open letter pushing for Sunak to put in a UBI system. This letter, the open letter, which anybody can go in and sign, this is just 300 of people who have positions and titles in the government over there. But anybody can sign for it, and the letter can be found on UBI Labs Network. It's a website. UBI Labs is also connected to the Fourth Industrial Revolution and is also connected to the WEF, the World Economic Forum. So that doesn't surprise me at all. You've got WEF boy Sunak, you've got him putting in the agenda, you've got the UBI system that the WEF has been pushing for years. They continue to put out articles and all this stuff to do it. And now we've got an open letter from many people in the UK government pushing for Sunak to put a UBI system in for the Brits. With serious energy and cost of living crisis happening, this is what the letter is saying, because of the energy and cost of living crises happening, poverty and inequality, there's the social justice aspect, poverty and inequality are threatening the quote-unquote very foundations of the United Kingdom. They are using the energy, climate, and social justice agendas, everything that we've been seeing getting pushed everywhere, to bring in, they want to use those agendas to bring in the UBI system. Now remember, they've basically tested this thing worldwide because when the COOF lockdowns happened, almost every country out there did a stimulus check for everybody, for all the people. They were testing a UBI system. That's what that was. The COOF lockdowns, the whole thing is bringing in a lot of stuff. It's bringing in a lot of stuff. And one that isn't quite talked about very often was the UBI system that they were testing globally. I mean, they had this stuff going all in Europe. They had it going in Australia. They had it going in New Zealand. They had it going in Japan. They had it going in the United States and Canada. All of these countries out there, they were testing a UBI system when this happened, these stimulus checks. So they were working on it. They were trying to figure out or seeing how people reacted. They were trying to get the systems in place. They were trying to get all the information that they needed to do it. If that's not enough, you've got the Welsh government who's already on a trial run. They're doing 500 fresh 18-year-olds. So as soon as they turned 18, they were put in this plan, this UBI trial system, and they're going to be given £1,600 every month for 2 years. Doesn't matter if they're working or not. They're going to get the £1,600 per month. This trial program that they're going to do will begin in April of 2023, and you will have a year-long window to sign up for it. It's going to be 500 of them that they're going to be doing. Basically, the Welsh government with this program, they're claiming that because of the robot takeover, the takeover of AI and all this stuff, it's going to be costing people jobs, and so they need to prepare for when the robots take over, the computers take over, and now they're getting the UBI system going. So they've already got that going, and they're testing that. Along with that, these 500 18-year-olds will receive financial well-being training. That's what they're calling it, financial well-being training, and they said it's going to be there to build confidence. It's the wussification. It's the you can't survive on your own, so let Big Daddy government come and take care of you. That's what they're doing with this. So they're already testing it there. Going back to the letter, the UBI Labs letter here, also admits that after the lockdowns, this is the second time in 3 years that they need to pay citizens to avoid critical disaster because of the cost of living, the energy stuff now, and then the lockdowns. Sorry for hitting my mic. And the lockdowns then. This is the second time 3 years that the economy is getting crushed, and so they need to do this. So they're crushing their own economy to bring in the UBI system that they've been wanting for years. You have to destroy what's already there to bring in the new. That's how it works. This is the plan. Great reset, climate, coup lockdowns, the war, the sanctions, all of that stuff coming together to crush the foundations that's already there so they can build up the Antichrist beast system. That's what they want to do. These things have created doors for them to bring it in. Because as we know that, we strongly believe, at this point, we know the Antichrist is behind the scenes. We're not going to know who he is and all that stuff, but we know he's already behind the scenes. But these systems that he's going to need, these systems, they're being built now. They're being built now. So when he comes in, all he's got to do is just flip on the switch and turn it on. So that's what we're watching now. It's all controlled demolition. Now, it's not just the UK. It's being tested elsewhere as well. March of 2022, so March of this year, Ireland issued a €250 UBI system for artists. I think it's musical and like painting and drawing and whatnot. So for artists, because basically their business got shut down, all of the artistry got shut down for things, they introduced this UBI system to help support the artists. Many wanted it extended to all of Ireland, not just the artists. And then 5 months later, after they initially started this, the pay was bumped up to €350, and it hit a tally of 2,000 artists who were getting paid monthly by the government to either do nothing or continue to work. There's this UBI system. They continue to say it doesn't matter if you're working or not, you're still going to get the money. So they were doing that. And then famous Irish economist David McWilliams, a lot of people don't know his name, but he's very big over in Ireland. David McWilliams, he led the charge for promoting this UBI system. David McWilliams, I'm sure you all have guessed it by now, he is a WEF young global leader, and he is also graduated to a full member status of the WEF. So he's fully on with that. Doesn't surprise there. He also had a podcast recently where he was talking about the inflation stuff, and the podcast was actually titled Build Back Better. That's right. That's not just a Biden thing. That is a global elite thing. You will find that in a lot of different places and a lot of different areas out there. It's one of those code names. When you see that, you know that's a part of it. So yeah, what Biden's doing, which he's not in control of anything. He's just a dementia puppet out there. The people controlling Biden, they're the ones doing the Build Back Better stuff. But that's a WEF thing. That's a WEF thing. Then you've got Tony Blair. It's quite, if you pay any attention to stuff, you know Tony Blair is on top of all this stuff. Has also called for a UBI system he's like one of the first that put these two together, but Tony Blair has called for a UBI system using the CBDC network, the Central Bank Digital Currency Network. We know the UBI system is going to be involved with the Central Bank Digital Currency. We know it. Well, he's the one that put it out there for the public to see and to pay attention. So he's called for it. Then the WEF in 2021 posted a video about a test run in Stockton, California. So we're going from Europe, to Ireland. Now we're in the United States, and they posted a video talking about how they ran a UBI system in Stockton. Let's see here. Where's that? All right, check it out. Here it is. Doesn't that sound pleasant? Yeah, definitely sounds pleasant. So as you can see, not only was it Stockton, but then we've also seen that Finland ran their own thing. Now on the video, they talked about how it was a massive success for the people. But Finland also ran the 2-year pilot UBI system, which Business Insider said was a flop. But then they put, the asterisk next to it and said expert says it because the test was flawed. So they're not putting it on the UBI system itself as a problem. They're putting it as the test that they ran was flawed, not the system itself. So yeah, they always got to try and bump it up that way. But as you can tell, the WEF is pushing for this. They're sprucing it up. They're putting the sugar and cherry on top to try and make it sound good. So I mean, they're testing this stuff all over the place. They're doing all that, but then we start getting into some of the people. Some of the people who are supporting this. We've got Elon Musk, which I just talked about in the video. If you haven't checked it out, it's a Rumble exclusive. Go and check it out on my Rumble channel. Elon Musk, the conservative hero, truth about the conservative hero. But I talked about it on there. But Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg both also support a UBI system and have called for it. They want it implemented. So Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, they're doing it. Then you look at Sam Altman. Many people don't know who this guy is. He is a very, very, very bad person. Sam Altman, who co-founded OpenAI with Elon Musk, has also shared the same sentiment as Musk and Zuckerberg on this. Altman has been quoted saying, and this is his quote, Altman envisions a world where, my handwriting, I apologize. Altman envisions a world wherein he and his AI CEO peers become so immensely powerful that they run every non-AI company out of business and every American worker to unemployment. So powerful that a percentage of OpenAI's income could bankroll UBI for every citizen of America. That is the dude who is business partner with Elon Musk. Yeah, just more and more about this. Basically, what that is, he's talking about basically his AI CEO guys coming in, putting all of those other companies out of business, making everybody out of unemployment, and then everybody dependent upon them for money. That's your neo-feudalistic technocracy. That is the government that I've been trying to tell people. Everybody's saying, oh, communism, oh, socialism. That stuff's going to be a birthday party compared to what they're trying to set up, which is that neo-feudalistic technocracy. They want the elite of the elite and everybody else peasants, and they want to control you through technology. That's what they're doing, and that's exactly what Altman here is calling for. Others who have also promoted the UBI system, I apologize for mispronouncing names, Pierre Omidyar. He is the founder of eBay. He has called for a UBI system. Andrew Ning, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's NG. Andrew Ning, that's the best I got. He's the co-founder of Google Brain. He's called for a UBI system. Bill Gross, who is an investor and the co-founder of PIMC. It is a huge private investment company. And he's worth 1.6 billion. He is called for a UBI system. And then Ray Kurzweil, he's an inventor and a futurist. He has actually written books based on artificial intelligence, transhumanism, and futurism. He wants all of that as well. Then, of course, you even have Pope Francis in April of 2020, who has called and promoted for a UBI system as well. So you got Zuckerberg, Musk, Altman, Omidyar, Ning, and Gross, who are all WEF Young Global Leaders and or members. They're all in the WEF as well. And then you've got Kurzweil, his business partner, Peter Diamandis, I'm not sure, is also a WEF member as well. All of these guys are connected to the WEF. All of these guys are huge on technology or anything involving with that stuff. They're all super rich, the elite of the elite, and they're all calling for a UBI system to go with it. So increasing energy crisis, rise of AI, dropping employment, the collapse of employment, and climate are all leading the UBI ship. And you will find that all of those things are a part of the WEF agenda, Agenda 2030. It's all a part of it. So they're using that agenda, which they put out for everybody to see, but nobody wants to hear about it because they continue to think it's a conspiracy theory. And all of those agendas are all pushing towards what we firmly believe is going to be or what we strongly believe is going to be the Antichrist beast system, one world economy, and all of that. Mark of the beast, everything. It's all going to be intertwined together, wrapped up in a package. All of that's happening. With poverty and cost of living being a talking point for the UBI, we are seeing in the UK things like the mortgage rate rises are going to put an extra 400,000 people into poverty. People are left with an average about £3 left in their accounts after they pay their bills at the end of the month. Then in the US, we see the rise of tent cities. They're becoming not only visual, but talking points as well. The increasing mortgage rates over there. The U.S. on the verge of the worst homelessness crisis ever. The collapse of businesses. Europe's industrial complex is dropping. All of these things are going to the point where they're creating an environment where people are going to have to rely on the government and these big elite people to survive. That's what they're trying to establish. They don't want independence. They don't want people working on their own. And even something as small as we're seeing it in the United States, they're trying to eliminate the independent contractor position because they know that that's something that they can't control. That's something that they don't have any power over. So they're trying to get rid of that so they can have full control over everybody. They want everybody as employees. All of this stuff is leading into it, and it's all building towards getting a UBI system going. It's where we're at. It's happening. And it's being promoted and led by a lot of very powerful and rich people. So, yeah. It's one of those things where probably not going to see that implemented while we're here. The rapture is probably going to happen first, but we definitely, just like we're watching the signs of what's going to be happening in Jacob's trouble, the tribulation, great tribulation, all that stuff. It's the same reason why we watch what's happening with the third temple and whatnot. We know that that's going to be an event later, but we watch for it now because those are signs that continue to build towards what's happening. I mean, this is how we watch. This is how we prepare. And so even though we're probably not going to see that while we're here as Christians, we still watch for it. It's also good to have an understanding of what it is. So that's what's going on with that UBI system incoming. All right. So we're going to take a look at some stuff as far as natural events and whatnot. I actually got a comment last week that he said, "What? No updates on earthquakes and volcanoes and whatnot." I totally did not put that in last week, but I'm going to do it now. I apologize for that. I definitely got to make sure I'm up on that. So some large earthquakes we got that happened this past week. There was a 6.1 quake in the South Sandwich Islands. There was a 5.7 quake in La Libertad, El Salvador. There's a 6.0 quake in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. Always be watching the California, especially with the San Andreas fault line over there. Then there was a 6.1 quake in Sonora, Mexico. As of Sunday, we've got 45 volcanoes erupting. So that's actually 5 less than 2 weeks ago when we last checked. So there's been a drop in volcanic activity. Something on that. And then also looks like we've got, there's a tropical storm off of Florida. I think it's Nicole. That they said could be hitting at least, or they said it could hit category 2 when it's supposed to make landfall as well tomorrow, I believe. So there could be another one that's going to hit from the other side, the eastern side of Florida. So Florida might get hit again, which, as we know, when one hurricane hits, it's not good. When you have another hurricane that comes after they haven't had any time to fix and repair and prepare after the last hurricane, it's usually a lot worse, even if it's a smaller category. So definitely be praying for those in Florida with that. So, and looks like we got Ray. What's going on, Ray? Glad you're here. Or dance teacher. I guess I could call you dance teacher. So glad to see you, man. Glad you're here. Hopefully you're having a good Tuesday. So that's some of the stuff with natural events going on. Now, we're going to take a look at... Okay. Twitter bots. Hang with me. This is not a distraction. This is real. I talked about how there's kind of proof that this Ukraine-Russia thing is in fact planned. It is in fact a deal that they have made and established, and there's an agenda with it. Well, Twitter bots can actually prove that. Hang with me. I haven't gone crazy. Not any crazier than I already am. Anyways, hang with me. An Australia university, the University of Adelaide, discovered that 80% of tweets about the Russia-Ukraine conflict were propaganda from bots. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, Russian propaganda bots. Well, you would be wrong. These bots were actually anti-Russia bots that flooded at the very beginning of the invasion. 80% of the tweets about the Russia-Ukraine conflict were anti-Russian propaganda bots. That's right, it wasn't Russia, pro-Russia, like many people think, as the mainstream media would lead you to believe, actually. Over 5 million tweets showed only... So they studied 5 million tweets, and it showed that only 7% were classified as pro-Russian. So 5 million tweets, only 7% were pro-Russian. If anything said was negative towards Ukraine, a flood of replies would call you the Russian bot. So not only were these bots out there, going pro-Ukraine on this stuff, anti-Russia on this stuff, but if you said anything that was anti or negative towards Ukraine or was pro-Russia or Putin in any way, these bots would find your reply and then reply to you, basically calling you a Russian bot. So that was part of the thing as well. The automated tweets were designed to drive fear and anger for people. Now, this is part of the Internet of Things, the social engineering thing as well. I've talked about it. I'm not going to go in depth, even though I talk about the subject a lot. I apologize. No, I don't. I don't apologize at all. We need to talk more about it. But this is part of the Internet of Things and the social engineering aspect, where they program these things to either display certain ads, or in this case, have bots or whatever to try and social engineer to change your way of thinking or try and anger you in some way. And it gets people riled up. It's part of it. It's that social engineering. I mean, that's really what it is. So this is part of it, and these bots were designed to drive either fear of Russia or anger towards whoever at this point. They didn't specify, but it's part of the social engineering. This was the largest research conducted, surpassing the often referenced, because the mainstream media, that's where the mindset of, the Twitter bots and whatnot are all pro-Russia and stuff like that. Well, the mainstream media would lead you to believe that by using these other references. One from Stanford's Western Disinformation Study, where they studied 300,000 tweets from 146 different Twitter accounts. 3,000 or 300,000 from only 146, compared to the 5 million that this place did. And then the other one that the mainstream media references is Meta or Facebook's research on Russian disinformation. Even like ABC has quoted this quote unquote research, which looked at only 1,600 Facebook accounts. And they use those two studies to push out that it's Russian misinformation, the Russian bots, the pro-Putin bots and whatnot, even though you've got the Australian university who studied 5,000 and have proved that it's actually the opposite. It's actually the opposite on it. So this is where we start getting into what people call conspiracy type of thing, where this is the elite governments like the CIA who we know that that's the game that they play. I mean, you go all the way back with the CIA, and it's all about social engineering. It's all about getting people to believe a certain way or to react a certain way. It's the mental gymnastics, the mental games that they play. Now, if you believe that this is just a conspiracy, I've got two videos here that proves it is not. So check these out. This first one is from CIA officer Frank Snepp, and this interview was in 1983.
You briefed the press, did you not, when you were there?
Well, I had several jobs. One of my jobs was that of analyst. I also was an interrogator and indeed briefed the press when we, the CIA, wanted to circulate disinformation on a particular issue. Disinformation is not necessarily a lie. It may be a half-truth. And we would pick out a journalist. I would go do the briefing and hope that he would put the information in print. For instance, if we wanted to get across to the American public that the North Vietnamese were building up their force structure in South Vietnam, I would go to a journalist and advise him that in the past 6 months, X number of North Vietnamese forces had come down the Ho Chi Minh Trail system through southern Laos. Now, there is no way a journalist can check that information. So either he goes with the information or he doesn't, and ordinarily or usually the journalist would go with it because it looked like some kind of exclusive. And I would say our percentage planning that kind of data was 70 to 80%. The correspondents we targeted were those who had terrific influence, the most respected journalists in Saigon, like Robert Chaplin of the New Yorker magazine, Kai's Beach of the Los Angeles Times from time to time, and also he worked for the Chicago Daily News. Bud Merrick of U.S. News and World Report, Malcolm Brown of the New York Times, even Maynard Parker of Newsweek magazine.
So that's one of the CIA operatives that is talking about the Vietnam War and what happened. If you know anything about the Vietnam War, if you have studied anything about what that was, America never should have been there. Not at all. And it's proving it right here. The CIA guy, he was there to basically trick not only the people, but also the U.S. government at the time, Congress, to get us involved with the Vietnamese War. We never should have been there. That's a fact. If you look into the situation, and he's talking about how the CIA is there to provide that disinformation, just little half-truths, putting it in with actual real information to trick people, to lead people into believing that we should have been there, that we needed to get involved, and it was a good thing. And so this is part of what is going on that we're seeing with the Twitter bots, is they're trying to make the Ukraine war seem like we need to support Ukraine, we need to get involved, we need to be a part of it. Putin is bad, which Putin is bad, don't get me wrong there, but they're trying to push this along and make it that way. Now, if that's not enough for you, we've got another one from John Stockwell in 1978, who's also talking about this as well. He was a CIA director, I believe, on this. Check this one out.
There are other functions, however, some of them more legitimate than others. One is to run secret wars. Another thing is to disseminate propaganda to influence people's minds. And this is a major function of the CIA. And unfortunately, of course, it overlaps into the gathering of information. You have contact with a journalist, you will give him true stories, you'll get information from him, you'll also give him false stories. You also work on their human vulnerabilities to recruit them in a classic sense, to make them your agent so that you can control what they do, so you don't have to set them up sort of, you know, by putting one over on them. So you can say, here, plant this one next Tuesday.
Can you do this with responsible reporters?
Yes, the Church Committee brought it out in 1975, and then Woodward and Bernstein put an article in Rolling Stone a couple of years later. 400 journalists cooperating with the CIA, including some of the biggest names in the business, to consciously introduce the stories into the press.
Well, give me a concrete example of how you use the press this way.
Well, for example, in my war, the Angola War that I helped to manage, 1/3 of my staff was propaganda. I had propagandists all over the world, principally in London, Kinshasa, and Zambia. We would take stories which we would write and put them in the Zambia Times, and then pull them out and send them to a journalist on our payroll in Europe. But his cover story, you see, would be that he had gotten them from his stringer in Lusaka, who had gotten them from the Zambia Times. But after that point, the journalists, Reuters and AFP, the management was not witting of it. Now, our contact man in Europe was, and we pumped just dozens of stories about Cuban atrocities, Cuban rapists. We didn't know of one single atrocity committed by the Cubans. It was pure, raw, false propaganda to create an illusion of communists, eating babies for breakfast.
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory here. They will do anything they can to try and push along the agenda that they want to do. And in both of those videos, you have even seen, they mention them specifically, things like the New York Times, AFP, Reuters, Chicago Daily News. I mean, these are huge media. I mean, back then, those were the newspapers. Those were the big media companies. And back then, that they fed real information with truths and half lies involved with it. They had people on, I mean, they had these journalists on basically on salary. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. They were on payroll with how they would feed this information into this stuff. And the same tactics that the CIA used back then for the Vietnamese War, the Cuban War, all of that stuff is the same tactics just that they're using for this Ukraine-Russia thing, but just spiced up with technology, because technology has advanced since then. So it's not newspapers. They're using technology now, including these bots, to push along the agenda that they want, which is we are pro-Ukraine and we need to, no matter what, support them. We need to do everything they can. It's the same stuff that you were seeing back then with the Vietnam War, Cuban War, all of that stuff. It's the same thing. It's just spruced up a little bit. It never stopped. And so we're seeing it today. I wanted to play those videos because if you haven't heard it from the horse's mouth on how this stuff works, it's right there. It's historical. Those were people deep inside the CIA back then who are basically proving that this is what happens. And they're doing it with, yes, Twitter bots. That is part of it. The very first week of the invasion, over 3.5 million tweets featured the hashtag #IStandWithUkraine from bot accounts alone. That is not counting regular human accounts. These are bot accounts. 3.5 million tweets in the first week with the hashtag #IStandWithUkraine. Basically, what this is proving, and this wasn't just a slow burn, this wasn't anything like that, a switch was flipped, which shows that not only the propaganda campaign, but it was also already set up and prepared in advance. You're talking about the first week, 3.5 million tweets with the #IStandWithUkraine hashtag. That can't be set up in, oh, I got to put this together in 5 minutes. No, they knew that this invasion was coming. They knew this thing was going to happen. They knew it was going to take place. I wonder why. It's controlled. They set it up. This is a deal that was made. And so the propaganda campaign and the bots were already set up and ready to go. All they had to do is flip the switch to get this thing rolling, to get it going. This invasion, if you haven't seen enough out there proving that it's all, set up and prepared this way, this invasion it's a deal. It's right there. Need I say more about how everybody is involved with this? The CIA and a lot of other companies or a lot of other organizations out there were involved with getting this invasion going. Remember, even Klaus Schwab has said Putin is a WEF young global leader. You still think Putin's not privy to what is going on with this? No, it still is. Now, continuing with this, the #IStandWithUkraine hashtag is in the first 24 hours of the invasion. So we talked about how 3.5 in the first week. Well, the first 24 hours of the invasion, had 38,000 tweets per hour. Then up to 50,000 tweets per hour by day 3. These are all bot accounts. These are not human accounts. These are all bot accounts. Now, tweets with "I stand with Putin" or "I stand with Russia" were only at a few hundred per hour in the first 24 hours. All bot accounts. So Russia does have, there are pro-Russia bots involved, but it is not nearly what it is with the pro-Ukraine ones. This has nothing to do with people against Russia or Ukraine. This is all about this propaganda campaign that they set up for this invasion, which they knew was happening, which they probably helped engineer to get this going. The money laundering is definitely a part of it. This reveals that the whole invasion was a setup and was planned. Deals were made. You want to go back and take a look at the Vietnam War? Deals were made there. Never should have been there. You want to take a look at, yes, World War II? A lot of those people, a lot of the leaders, especially the ones that people hate, they are all friends. They were all benefiting in some way of getting this thing going, and it's happening. And like I said, part of it, the money laundering that's going on. Something else, if that's not enough for you, the report that's called the World Military Expenditures and Arms Transfer Report, which is a yearly report which shows all of the transfers of military arms and how much everything is. It reports on that. Well, that was repealed at the beginning of 2022. So at the end of 2021, this military expenditures and arm transfer report that tells you how much money is going out to all these different countries, it was repealed right before the invasion happened in Ukraine. And now we're seeing billions and billions and billions of dollars in military equipment getting sent, what they say, to Ukraine. But who knows? All that stuff, we can't track any of it. We can't see how much is going over there. I mean, we're getting fed, oh, Congress passed this amount and all that stuff, but we have no idea. This is a complete planned deal that is benefiting everybody involved. Now, yeah, I might be a little late to the party on getting this information to you. We've talked about it since the beginning that this is definitely something. But I mean, this is some new information that's coming out that only solidifies what's going on. And it only solidifies that all of this stuff is happening. This only confirms that the conspiracy theory of everybody being involved with this, it only confirms it even further. Now, with that in mind, if you want to talk more about how this is affected with the conspiracy theory of the dead internet, I don't know if many people have heard this, but there is now the conspiracy theory of the internet is dead, or dead internet. There was a several-year campaign by the mainstream media, quote-unquote, debunking the dead internet conspiracy. Also, I say this every time I use the term conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory, that term was created by the CIA after JFK was assassinated because they didn't want people questioning why or who killed JFK. Something to think about. Just something to think about there. Now, again, there's a several-year campaign about this dead internet theory. Dead internet is the theory that the internet is now controlled, manipulated, and is now a blindfold on people. There's no freedom on the internet. That's what this dead internet theory is. Propaganda, controlled information, distraction, influence, and manipulation. So basically, they have taken over the internet. The internet used to be a free place for everybody to be a part of. It died when they took control of it. The dead internet is now basically the Matrix. It's a matrix, a world built to distract you from the real world, to keep you along your merry way in some cozy type of place. Now, if you don't believe that, I mean, we've got all this stuff going on in Europe and all these things happening, but then the world just continues to talk about like the Will Smith slap that happened, or Musk buying Twitter, and all that stuff. That's all a distraction. All that stuff is a distraction to keep the world, to keep the internet completely focused on stuff that they don't want anybody knowing what's really happening out there. That's so part of it is controlling the information, but the other part is distracting people. That's why you have stuff like TikTok and whatnot that's so popular out there, because it's what's the word? I can't think of the word. It makes people feel good. I don't remember what it's called. But it's basically sugar. It's to make people feel good. It's to keep them distracted for what's going on. The other aspect, of course, after the distraction is controlled information. Basically controlling what type of information out there, censorship, all that stuff. We're seeing the big push now that's happening with that. Yes, thank you, Miss Craig. That's what it is. Dopamine. That's the word I was looking for. I appreciate you. Glad to see you here, by the way. Glad to see you. It's always good to see you here, Miss Craig. Glad that you're here. But yes, dopamine. So, but the other aspect of it is controlling what information's out there, making sure that people aren't getting the truth, whether that's completely censoring it or, I mean, we talked about that with the latest DHS documents about them with the portals, with the social media and stuff, you know, silencing it, taking it off and all that stuff, or whether it's taking it and feeding some, half-truths to go with it as well. We know that's a part of it, but controlled information is part of it. If you don't believe me, if you don't believe what's going on, here is somebody at the WEF talking about their connection with Google. Check this out.
You know, we partnered with Google, for example. If you Google climate change, you will, at the top of your search, you will get all kinds of UN resources. We started this partnership when we were shocked to see that when we Googled climate change, we were getting incredibly distorted information right at the top. So we're becoming much more proactive. We own the science, and we think that the world should know it, and the platforms themselves also do. But again, it's a huge challenge that I think all sectors of society need to be very active in.
You think that's a conspiracy? You think that's a conspiracy theory? She blatantly told you that the UN has a deal with Google to make sure that only their information gets out. And you'll also notice that she said they own the science. So everybody who says follow the science, all that means is you're following the narrative that the UN has created. They aren't hiding this stuff. They blatantly are telling you what they're doing and how they're doing it to your face. And only a very select group of people are paying attention. Only a very few group. Those are the conspiracy theories. By the way, the conspiracy theorists, they're pretty much batting 900 so far. They almost have a perfect batting record. Batting average. But why are they just telling you this stuff straight out? That people have that question of how come they're not hiding anything? Because they've got people so jacked up on dopamine with Will Smith smacking Chris Rock and Elon Musk buying Twitter and the next TikTok that's coming out and whatever influencer is doing what and whatever Kim Kardashian is doing over here and whatever Kanye West is doing over there. All of that stuff is distracting people, keeping them away from the truth. And they've got them so dumbed down and plugged into the matrix that even them telling you straight to their faces, they won't believe it. They'll believe the science, even though the UN just said they own the science. Doesn't matter. They don't want to believe that. But they'll believe other things that fit the prerogative that they want. This is real stuff happening, and this is part of the dead internet. This is about them controlling it, and the dead internet includes those pro-Ukraine bots. It includes what the CIA wants and what the shadow government wants. It's all a part of it. I should have like a tinfoil hat on my head, I guess. But this is just really what's going on. Controlling searches and news is only part of it. You've got distraction, you've got controlling the searching and the news, but then, if that's not enough, there is another aspect to this. Taking out the opposition is the other. And that doesn't mean just banning somebody if they're posting something that doesn't go along with the narrative. Taking out the opposition goes a lot deeper than that, and it also includes bots as well. These bots. These bots, like we just talked about, they were used to get opposition shut down. How? Twitter, Telegram, yeah, even Telegram, Reddit, and Facebook groups and others, etc. All those social media platforms and whatnot would find bot army deployment. So these bots were programmed to go to specific groups and channels in these social media groups. These bots were built to comment what they call poison comments or poison pills, whether it was Koof vitamin information, or misinformation, quote unquote, pro-Russian stuff, conspiracy theories, or even threatening government officials, riot groups and stuff like that. Anything that has to do with anything other than the narrative that they're trying to push, anything other than the agenda trying to push. These bots would go into these comment sections and post these things, which would then get the channels and the groups and the comments shut down. So these bots were built to find certain keywords and specific things where even if like the officials on the website couldn't find it, these bots would go in and they would start putting this stuff in there, and then people would flag it, or the website algorithm itself would flag it because they're dealing with misinformation. And those bots, they were built to go in and get these truth channels shut down, and it worked. It still is working. So these bots they're doing this stuff as well. So they were taking out opposition with this stuff. Control news, shut down opposition, sway opinion with social engineering, and aggravate the free thinkers from trying to find the real information out there. This is part of the dead internet. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's real. The internet is dead. And this is how they're doing it. And it's all real. It's all happening. So hopefully that helps put everything together as far as that goes. So, okay. And just the last couple bit, we're almost out of time here. Just the last little bit here to finish this off, some notes. A couple things with some war stuff. We've got November 5th, which was Saturday, I believe. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard tested a satellite launch vehicle that could be used to launch nukes. So this is a system, a vehicle that could possibly start launching nukes. The Gaim 100 is a 3-stage launch vehicle that can launch satellites into orbit. So this can launch a satellite. As we know, you can attach nukes to satellites and whatnot. We know Iran is working on their nuclear program. We know this is happening. A part of that is how to deliver a nuke. A lot of people are thinking they're just going to do just a regular air one, but they've been working with Russia on getting these satellites up in the air, up in space as well. And so this thing could be possible to launch nukes from with that. Also, we've got ties between North Korea, China, and Russia are continuing to strengthen. A lot of people, they continue to talk about China and Russia being together, but North Korea, they are a wild card. They are firmly in that relationship with them, and it's strengthening as China and Russia continue to stand in the way of the UN holding North Korea responsible for provocations. So there have been 9 meetings this year of the UN Security Council, and all of them have been on North Korea and the provocations that they're doing. All 9 meetings, all votes have failed because China and Russia continue to step in and block the UN from doing anything. So they're defending North Korea. They're keeping them protected. That relationship is still growing strong. We're hearing speculative reports that North Korea is giving Russia military equipment, giving Iran military equipment. We're hearing stuff that China is giving stuff to North Korea. We know they're moving stuff, military equipment, all between each other. And so ties between them are getting stronger. And then also, last bit on this, we've got Libya's General Khalifa Haftar is warning of war in Libya due to Turkey's meddling in the GNU, which is their temporary government in Libya. Remember, we always watch Libya because of Ezekiel 38. They're a part of the five main players who will get into Israel. And we know Libya is, I mean, they're basically in control. Turkey controls Libya at this point. And because of that, General Haftar here is warning of a civil war breaking out because of Turkey's meddling in the GNU, which is a temporary interim government. The alliance between Turkey and the GNU, which established an illegal gas deal. We talked about that, which cut into Greece's economic zone. We talked about that already. Established the illegal gas deal is also angering Egypt as well. They're also angering Egypt. So Egypt's getting a little irritated with what Turkey's doing on this, which is probably why Egypt didn't want him to be a part of the gas deal with Europe and Israel either. The interim GNU Prime Minister Biba, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, there's silent letters there, has refused to step down even though his term has ended. So the Prime Minister right now, who has a great relationship with Erdogan in Turkey, his term was up, but he has not stepped down, which is causing this aggression. The next appointed Prime Minister, Bashaga, has basically failed to take the position that he's supposed to take and has lost military loyalty because of his show of weakness. There's more weakness in government. Is it because he's weak, or is it because he's also controlled opposition? Who knows anymore at this point? Now, talk of a third government group has also risen, which is pushing a stalemate and the chances of the civil war likely breaking out. Haftar has sent warning to Turkey about a war to liberate Libya from Erdogan's control. So this is something that we definitely got to pay attention to. We got to see what's going to happen. Again, right now, the connection between Libya and Turkey is very strong. And we know both of them are going to be a part of the invasion of Israel for Ezekiel 38. So we definitely got to keep an eye and see what's going to happen with this. Also, another aspect of this to keep an eye on is a lot of oil comes out of Libya. And if a civil war breaks out, prepare for all of that to go off the market. So that may be something that happens a little bit later when things start crashing. So definitely something to pay attention to on that. So that's what's going on with war. So that's pretty much about all I got. I do want to finish off with, yes, today is the election stuff. As you know, we don't really delve much into politics on here unless there's something directly involved with something. Many people believe my stance on, or believe that I know that I stand that most politics, not all of them, but most politics are a distraction and a tool of deception. But I do want to say, because of what's going on with the elections and some of the things that I have seen out there, I'm not going to give comment on whether you should vote or not or anything like that. I'm not going to do that. I firmly believe that we are to occupy while we're still here, whether that's through voting or not, that is up to you. So I'm not going to even comment on that. But what I am going to say, and I'm seeing this not only in just regular Christians who are commenting on stuff and conversations that I've had, but I've also seen it from leaders in the church, where does your faith lie? Where do you have your faith placed? Because it seems as though every time we get to this point in the United States, there's a difference between hoping and praying and pushing for a specific outcome on elections and putting all your faith in politics and politicians expecting a change. Is your faith in a politician or a political party, or is your faith in Jesus Christ? As prophecy watchers, we know things are going to get worse. As prophecy watchers, we know things are only going to get worse from here. As prophecy watchers, we know that the U.S. and America must diminish. We're not mentioned in the end. We're not. Some people want to talk about how it's possible that the U.S. is one of the lions and whatnot, which, who knows? But we're not there. Where does your faith lie? Are you so hung up on specific parties or so hung up on specific politicians? I've seen so many comments and conversations between Christians where, the moment the elections happen, they are pushing Jesus aside, they're pushing prophecy aside, they're pushing all this stuff aside for a politician to take place, a party to take over, to fix things, to change things. And something that I've talked about before is you look at these parties and it's the same, it's the two sides of the same coin, it's two wings of the same bird. We, as conservatives, we tend to look at what the left is doing and the absolute evil that's coming from there. But if you look at it, it's the perfect ploy where we just now we have to vote for the Republicans no matter what, just always vote for red. But if you look at it, how many years have the red taken over and not a thing has changed? It's the perfect ploy. You have the left that's doing all the progression, and then you have the right that they don't change anything and they let this stuff happen. Nothing gets better. And people want to talk about, with Trump and everything was getting better when he was involved. Are you sure about that? Honestly, are you sure about that? That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not going to dive further into that, but just something to think about. Are you sure things were better under him, or was it all just kabuki theater? Something to think about. But again, the main focus I want to say is, remember, as Christians, our faith, our hope, our focus, our attention should always be on Jesus Christ. We know what's coming. We know things will not get better. We know it for a fact. Again, I'm not telling you what to do out there, but what I'm telling you is make sure that your eyes do not deviate from Jesus Christ. Make sure that your focus is on Jesus Christ and not a politician or a political party. I just want to put that out there. I'm not going to deep dive into the elections and the politics and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. I don't think right now it's appropriate, and I don't think this platform is appropriate for it. But I just want to make sure, if you're watching this, don't move your eyes from the Lord's return to an election. Keep them focused on the Lord and look through prophecy at what the election is going to stir and bring about. That's the best way I can put it on that. Just make sure that your focus is on Jesus Christ and not a politician. So those are my words on it. Those are my words on the elections and whatnot, because I know a lot of the prophecy channels and guys are talking about the elections and all that stuff. That's all I'm going to say on it. So, all right, guys, that's all I got. We're over time here. I tried to keep it under an hour and a half, and we're under time. So, or overtime. But yeah, make sure you're focused on the Lord right now, guys. Do not move your eyes from the Lord, because that's what Satan wants. Politics is Satan's tool. He's going to use it, especially right now, and he wants to draw your attention away from the Lord onto politics. Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there. Glad you guys could join me. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully it brings glory to the Lord. And yeah, so all the usual spiel. Make sure like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. If you have people who have questions, or maybe you have people who might benefit from hearing some conspiracy theory stuff, hopefully that'll help answer some questions or bring information to them. So like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Make sure, again, you follow me, Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram, all that stuff. Post good stuff on there. If you feel led to, there are donation links down below if you feel like giving there. And also, again, make sure tomorrow at noon, if you enjoy the Bobblehead Adventures, there's going to be a new one coming out tomorrow. So keep an eye on that. As always, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your week, and Lord willing, I will catch you guys here next Tuesday, same time, same place. Lord Jesus, please come before Tuesday. Please come. All right. Peace out, guys.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.